I'm Dr. Becky. I'm the founder and CEO of Private Therapy Clinic. In this video, I'm going to talk about age gap love when the woman is significantly older than the male. So you might be watching this video because you're a woman who's found the love of your life, but he's significantly younger than you, and you're worried about whether the relationship will work out. Equally, you might be a male who has found a significantly older woman that you've now entered into a relationship with, and you're trying to figure out if this is going to be a realistic prospect for you. Or you might be a concerned loved one, a friend or a family member who's just a bit confused about your loved one and the situation they found themselves in because it's not the typical kind of thing. Well, first of all, I want to say that this is not the typical thing. We don't see it very often, and there's a reason for that. Often these relationships present a whole load of challenges, and I'll talk through these challenges in this video so that you can reach your own conclusions about whether this kind of dynamic can work. I think it's really important to put across a balanced view and not be too judgmental and not make assumptions, because every single individual is different. And I think the most beautiful thing that could possibly happen is actually age gap love working out, where these two individuals form a healthy and happy relationship. However, because there's more challenges in age gap love than your typical relationship, and your typical relationship usually has a lot of challenges, this kind of dynamic is difficult. And that's why a lot of women, where they're dating younger men, they do actually end up breaking up with their partners relatively soon after the relationship started, or they end up staying in a relationship where it's frustrating for them or there's some kind of level of codependency going on. So one of the first problems with this relationship is the judgment of others and stereotyping. So often the woman can be called particular names such as cougar, and the judgments of others can be so difficult that actually in social situations, people feel quite uncomfortable and they can't turn up feeling quite proud about the relationship. They feel like they have to explain it, or they feel quite sheepish and shy, or actually deep levels of shame related to the relationship. Some people find that they prefer to keep the relationship private, or they like to socialize separately so that they're not facing that shame when they turn up to social situations and there's that obvious age gap. A lot of people say things that make people feel bad about this dynamic. A lot of people are quite opinionated. A lot of people don't hold back in relation to sharing their concerns or their reasons why it won't work. And often family members or friends are just not supportive of this at all. Another difficulty is lifestyle stages and priorities. So often amongst the two, you will see very different interests in relation to how they want to spend their time and what they want to focus on. They're going to find different things stimulating, different things fun, and it can be very frustrating for one partner or the other when they're not able to come together and enjoy common hobbies and interests. Now, I don't want to say really stereotypical things as all of the examples in this video, but for example, you might find a male is really interested in playing computer games and the woman is more focused on making sure that they're financially secure and they are getting on with their careers, or that they're actually starting to plan to have a family. And that brings me to fertility and family planning difficulties. Of course, females' body clock is ticking in a way that men don't have to worry about. So if the woman is significantly older, she might find that she has no choice but to put pressure on the male and put him in a position where he has to start having conversations with her about whether they want to start a family or not, perhaps sooner than he's ready to do so. Now, sometimes younger males are okay with these conversations. It's not scary for them at all. And actually, they're fine to have children at an earlier stage than they otherwise would have in order to make the relationship work. So I'm not saying there's always going to be a problem, but it's a common thing that comes up when we're looking at age gap love when the woman is older. There's often aging concerns when the woman is older than the male. So although both people might be of an equal level of attractiveness, or they both might be very attractive people, for a woman as she's aging, when her partner is significantly younger, she will often worry that her partner is going to go out and replace her for a younger partner, or that at least he's interested and is attracted to younger females. So it might be hard for her to age in a way that she's confident without actually worrying that her partner might stray in some shape or form. Financial and career differences are often a huge problem when the woman is older. Often she is more established in her career and she has more money. She's done more because she's older, and therefore she's in a situation where she's covering more of the costs, and then that can lead to resentment. Now, this is not always the case, and actually where age gap love tends to work better is when both parties are able to contribute pretty well financially. So actually, if money is not an issue in relation to this relationship, often you will see the relationships play out a lot longer. That's often one of the reasons why when you see celebrities with an age gap, that actually the relationship plays out for a longer period of time. That, and they also have more common interests and they're able to socialize in the same circles. But when the woman feels like she's taking on the financial burden, it can often have a huge strain on the relationship. Women like to feel like they're being provided for and they're protected. And obviously that can differ amongst individuals. But if a woman feels that she's contributing more to the relationship than the male, then this can be really difficult. So things don't need to be equal, but people need to be contributing to the relationship in an equal way. And what I mean by that is, let's just say the woman's the higher earner. That's absolutely fine. But how does the male contribute in a way where the woman feels fully supported in her being the higher earner? So actually, does he take on more of the household tasks? Is he really supporting her in that way? So then you look at the relationship and you look at two people putting in a lot to make that relationship work. I've often had clients where the female was doing all the cooking, bringing in most of the money, providing for the male in many ways, wasn't really able to have the same level of emotional conversations as she was able to have because she was emotionally more mature. And the only way that the male was providing was actually meeting the woman's sexual needs. So a relationship like that can survive for a long period of time. But the question is it a healthy dynamic? And actually, usually it leads to resentment and you're not actually having this healthy balance of male and female energy. So this can be really tough if you look at a relationship where actually the woman is taking on more responsibility. So while the finances don't need to be equal, the responsibility should be fairly on par. What's also very interesting to look at in these relationships is the polarities of feminine and masculine energy. So if the woman is the higher earner and she's working really hard, she's leaning into her masculine, particularly if she's making a lot of the decisions. If the man is taking on a lot of the household chores and perhaps he's starting the conversations about emotional topics, then he's leaning into his feminine. It's absolutely fine if the woman is more in her masculine and the man is more in his feminine. Then we've got two different polarities, and that can actually function fine for a very long time if that's what the two individuals need. But actually, most of the time, women want to feel very feminine in the relationship. And in order to feel very feminine, they need to be able to feel like they're being protected and taken care of. So that's why a man working hard on his career and being able to contribute well financially can make a woman feel very safe and she can lean into her feminine. Also, if she doesn't have to make all of the decisions on her own, this can feel like a very secure place for her. So often one of the biggest problems with age gap love, where the woman is older, is that she's the decision maker, she makes more money, and she's leaning way too much into her masculine, and it's only in the bedroom where she can feel feminine, and that's often not enough for women. Another huge issue is the acceptance of friends and family. Often, even if people are quite happy in their relationship and they're fine with it and they don't care what people think in general, they will often keep being faced with the judgment of their friends and family, where their friends and family are just showing signs of not accepting it. Even if they don't say it outright, they can sense it, they can feel it. And that causes problems because bringing their partner places or helping their partner feel accepted and fitting in can just be awkward. So it really gets tough when it comes to socializing, and it gets tough when it comes to family events. And that can be really tough because either the couple have to then isolate themselves from their support system, so isolating themselves a bit from friends and family, which is not very healthy because then they're depending too much on the relationship, or else they just feel quite uncomfortable with friends and family and they start socializing quite separately. So this can be really challenging because when a couple can't turn up at social events with friends and family members, joining forces as a strong couple, it can have a huge impact on the relationship. Where age gap relationships tend to survive better is when there's very strong common interests, where the couple can spend a lot of time together on their common interests. And they also, as a result of having those common interests, end up being able to socialize quite well together because they're spending a lot of time on this common interest and they're able to make the same friends as a result of it. Long-term planning can be really tough in these kind of relationships because when one person starts the conversation about the future, usually the female, because she's older and she wants to look towards the future and see how the relationship is going to be built and developed. The younger man just can't see that far into the future. He just can't imagine it. So therefore, engaging in conversations, he might be quite passive or agree to things that he hasn't actually thought out properly. So although they might come to agreements, when they start to try and live out those agreements, it can be really tough. Personal shame can be another issue. So one of these individuals holds a lot of shame about the fact that they're with someone who's significantly younger or older. That shame will keep feeding back in and they won't be able to forget about it. I worked with an individual where she was very happy with her partner in some ways, and she was just delighted that she had this younger man that she was super attracted to. They had a great sex life, but she felt very bad internally about the fact that she had to settle for this younger man. And while there was definitely benefits to the relationship, she was just very torn, and there was a lot of toing and froing in her mind as to whether she would stay in the relationship, which led to her breaking up with him on quite a number of occasions, which led him to be very anxious about the relationship. In the end, the relationship didn't last because she couldn't get over the shame of the fact that she was in a relationship with a younger man. Essentially, she didn't accept it for herself. She wanted something better, and she could never quite feel completely happy with this relationship. It's good to have some insight in relation to why these individuals have entered into relationships with one another. Well, when we look at the female, what we commonly see is a female who has actually grown up not having a lot of support from a strong male father figure in her life. So the reason why she's okay with entering into a relationship with a significantly younger male is because she doesn't mind taking on a lot herself. She's not used to having strong support from a male, so therefore she doesn't really expect to have it in her relationship. She's okay with taking on the workload in the relationship. She's okay with earning more money. She's okay with pulling more weight because she doesn't know any different. And she's accepting a relationship where actually she's not going to be supported as much as is ideal for her. What's common with the male is that actually he has some mother issues and that he is seeking out an older female because he needs the love and validation of a mother figure that he never had. Some people don't like to look at the realities of these situations, and while it's not absolutely true for everyone who enters into these age gap dynamics, as a psychologist, these are the common things that I see, that actually a woman has not had a strong male father figure in her life, and there's some mother issues in relation to the male who enters into age gap love. Now, I don't want to be completely negative about this dynamic because there are exceptions, and some age gap relationships like this actually do very well, where they're healthy relationships and they're not codependent on one another. If you know of these relationships, or if you're having one of these relationships yourself and you're happy in your age gap love and you're the older female or younger male, I'd love to hear your story, so please leave the comments below. And if you'd like to see more content from me, please subscribe to my channel.